Good afternoon, good evening, guys.
Oh my goodness. How are you today, sweetheart?
I'm doing fine. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter, as the case may be. Hop, 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 hop.
Oh my
I
God,
was greeted by an Easter bunny.
I'm guessing the dogs loved that this morning.
Oh, yeah. I got tea, guys. Don't worry. I'm not going to over-caffeinate myself.
That's it. We're nice and calm today, aren't we?
Yes, we're nice and calm. We're cool. We're collected. We've got somebody so special on our show today. I'm like geeking out.
But shall we say hello to everyone before we introduce our special guest? Awesome.
Yes, we should. Let's see who's hanging out with us here. Got to scroll up a little bit. Mark the Infinitely Tired is here. He said he was 11th.
Yes. I think Pat S was first at about 1:30 this morning when I said
goodness.
Up, so thank you, Pat.
Jim the Viking is here. Hi, Jim. Darth Haster, Pat S, of course, was first. So, good morning. Tim Possible, good afternoon. Sorry, I keep thinking we're doing our morning show. Oh my gosh. Starry-eyed girl. Hello, sister.
Hey, sweetheart. Good to see you.
Good to see you in the chat. Oh my gosh. Let's see who else is hanging out with us. Oh my goodness. Louise Sparrow is here. Rambling Canuck. Hey, Canuck. Apollome's Minion is here. Positive Candor. Hello. Good to see you in our chat. Oh my gosh. Who else is hanging out with us, honey?
We are joined by Bill Barkley. We've got Naughty Monkey Olaf, Robert Berlinden. Good to see you, sweetheart. Colin P. Swift, good afternoon. Same to you, Danny Boy. Good to see you. James Stockdale, hey, good to see you. Generalissimo Jefe, welcome. We've got Dee Dee Myers, Psychodwarf 9. Good to see you, sweetheart. And I think we've got everyone. If there's anybody else, we will grab them as they come in. Not Ryan Johnson. Good to see you.
Oh, hello. Good to see you, Not Ryan Johnson. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't think we missed anybody.
So, shall we bring on our very special guest for today?
Yes.
We are so happy to have him join us. It is the one, the only, Robert Meyer Burnett.
Wow, you lovely ladies are way too kind. I thank you for that intro.
Oh, you're welcome.
And happy Easter, by the way.
Happy Easter
to you too.
It's good to be here.
Much. We are so happy to have you. I know we're just a little bit excited. Just a little bit.
Gosh, I wish I always had that effect on women. But in my old age, it's going away. So what can I do?
Old age, schmold age.
I know. You can't think of it that way. But at a time, I do feel like the last year, I'm owed a year from somebody. Like, even though I accomplished a lot in 2020, but I didn't really go anywhere. The other day, Friday, was the first time I was on Interstate 5, which is a massive highway in freeway here in LA, and there was traffic on it.
There was traffic?
Normally I felt, normally you hate LA traffic, and I'm like, oh my God, thank God there's traffic again. Because there hasn't been any in a year. I'm like, things are getting back to normal. It's fantastic.
Oh my gosh, when there's traffic in LA, it's got to be returning to normal.
Oh my God. And I hadn't even been on I-5. I'm like, I haven't been down the hill from Pasadena, and I think twice. One to get an air conditioner, one to get a Christmas tree, and that was it.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think I've left the house. I haven't been away from this house in a year, which is odd. I feel like I've been living here in this garage I kind of have been for the last year, which is strange. I just want to be where the hustle and bustle of people are.
Yes. I miss people.
I mean, I get vaccinated in a week, so that's good.
Awesome.
Yes. Sammy, you were saying that you're due for your second one as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm getting my second shot this week, so
fingers crossed.
I'm ready to return to normal.
I know, right?
But climbing the walls, and I think it's because it's been so different. You guys had different kind of sets of rules for the lockdown, and then over in the UK, it was much more kind of restricted what we could do. So
yeah.
Climbing the walls for the past year.
Police state. My favorite Yorkshire man, Az, was telling me, because he lives in like a small town. I can only imagine, like, what do you do?
Not a lot would be the answer.
Yeah, I would go crazy.
That's one of the reasons we made this channel. It was because we had free time and we thought, well, what's the best way to connect with people? We'll make a channel. And it kind of snowballed from there. And then we got to meet, as you say, we got to be friends with Az, and I was lucky enough to meet yourself. And it's connections. It's that kind of, because we can't sit down with friends, we can't go to the cinema, we can't go to conventions. It's having still this kind of human connection with people.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I met so many good people streaming from all over the world, and you know, I do a stream right after this with my friend Dieter from Saarbrücken, Deutschland, who I didn't know. You know, I didn't know before the pandemic, and I reached out to him to ask him to get me a German Blu-ray, or actually a German 4K disc of the original Rollerball, the 1975 Rollerball with James Caan. And then we became friends, and I'm like, we should do a show. You know, we both are talking about physical media, and then all of a sudden we've done, today is our 20th episode.
That's amazing.
Congratulations.
Yeah, with a dude I'd never met before. And then,
that's amazing.
And Az and I did 18 episodes about The Prisoner, and then we were going to do this one-off show about our hot toy or toy obsession. That's turned into like 20 shows too. Of course, it's ruined my pocketbook, but I had to, you know.
Yes, I think it's ruined a lot of people's pocketbooks. You two enable each other, and then you enable the chat as well.
I know. And then I met Justin from Justin's Collection on YouTube. Like, it's funny because even I, who work in Hollywood, when I meet like a YouTuber that I've been watching for a long time, I get this like giddy celebrity, like, oh my God, it's Justin from Justin's Collection. Like every time he comes on, hello. Yeah, I hear his voice from his, you know, and then we would do Justin impressions. It's a new figure. I got a new figure today, you know, and I told Elizabeth, I go, well, I'm going to stream with Justin. She's like, Justin. I go, from Justin's Collection. She's like, are you going to get some figures? I'm like, yes, I am. And now she's pissed because Justin sends me like every day I get action figure porn from him. It's like, look at what's coming out. Look at this.
Oh my God.
And look at this. And he's sending me to all these. I'm like, damn it. I'm like, there's a house payment to make.
First, toys.
But first.
Yeah, but first I got to get this HUD sculpt of Ezra Miller for my Flash hot toy. I've got to have that. Yeah.
I think my favourite pickup that you had recently is the one just behind you, Vampirella. That figure is amazing.
The which one?
The Vampirella that you've had.
Oh, that figure. That figure's. Yeah. I mean, it makes me feel a little dirty, to be honest. But the figure that's right. I mean, she's very scantily clad.
I was gonna say she's right there.
She's right. Although I realized she came with the plastic piece. I'm like, what is this? And I've got to put it on her. It goes on her leg. It's one like she's got the, I don't know, what do you call that? Not a bracelet, but if it goes on a leg, I don't know what that would be, but I forgot to put that on her. I got to put that on her. But that is an incredible figure. I mean, and that is the one with the Carolyn Monroe. Yeah, she's real. Here, I'll bring her over.
Bring her over.
Carefully.
I gotta. The cape is really nice, and I mean, she's got rooted hair, which is very, very cool.
Oh my gosh!
There, and she actually came with 2 heads, so you can switch her out, and it's a Fison body, so there's all the joints are underneath the skin, and it feels, you know, it's got it's rubber, so it's not hard plastic, so when you touch her, it feels really good. But I just love this. I mean, because, you know, I grew up. This is the 50th anniversary of this character. And you know, so that's why I guess it would be the 51st anniversary, but that's kind of why they made it. And they did a regular comic one, but they also, Caroline Munro, the actress, was supposed to play her in a mid-70s movie, and it never happened. So they had already made a Caroline Munro Star Crash figure, and they licensed her head, so her likeness, so she could finally be Vampirella.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's a great figure. It's very, very cool.
She's
and
beautiful.
the cloth on the cape is really neat because it's two, you know, one side's red and one side's black. So it's great. I love it.
They are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Have you always been a collector, or have you found that your collection has grown in the past 12 months because of lockdown?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Like a lot of these figures, like when you buy Hot Toys figures, you pre-order them and it takes 2 years to get them. Like all the Falcon and Winter Soldier figures, those don't come out until like September of 2022.
Oh gosh.
And so a lot of the time when
What?
you and the WandaVision figure that doesn't come out until 2022, and so it's like you're looking at an 18-month or sometimes 2-year lead time. But what's more manageable about that, these figures are, they're expensive, but you can pay them off over time. And I usually buy from one company here, which is Sideshow. That's the North American distributor, but I bought a few things from because of Justin, of course.
Blame Justin.
I'm blaming Justin. I said I said F that guy on as a show because he couldn't be on this past week, and I said it with love. By the way, I said it with love.
You did. That is true.
And he has this toy store called Toys Wonderland, and I had never bought anything from Toys Wonderland, and they have a lot of third-party figures, but they allow you to pay off your toys like over 12 months. So it's barely a drop in the bucket. Every month it's like, it's like
you don't
$20.
Notice it going out.
Yeah, who you want to do it? Who's gonna even remember? They just take money right out of your account. It's all good. So that's how Elizabeth, my girlfriend, wants a Star-Lord figure. So I'm like, all right, because I don't want her to. She's already absconding with my figures. So I'm like, no, you can't have Star-Lord. So
get her own Star-Lord.
Yeah, so I got her own Star-Lord, and I'm getting that from Toys Wonderland and paying it off over time. So I'm like, so I never thought I'd be a middle-aged man with a girlfriend that I'm buying action figures for, but here we are.
Living the dream, Rob. What can I say?
It's fantastic. I mean, she's in art school. She's making movies with action figures, and
she is a lovely lady. She really is.
And it's just very funny. It's I just don't like her touching my action figures. So.
Don't touch my stuff.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't touch it.
I'm terrified to touch those things because they're all posed in specific poses, so they've been touched.
I know, and I think that posing action figures is like an art. You want them to be like, these aren't my best poses, but when you set them up, you've specifically done something, and when people come in and touch them, I try and maintain it, but then sometimes who touched this?
No touchy.
So I'm giving away. People are like, that guy. I'm glad I don't live with that guy.
Oh,
crazy.
The same thing applies when you come into my nerd room. Don't touch my stuff.
Yeah.
Don't touch the statues.
And an action figure is one thing, but don't touch my books. Like when people open up your books, like, no, don't do that.
Don't touch it. It's like, what is wrong with you?
I mean, I look at my paperbacks, right? So this Star Trek paperback is almost 40 years old.
Nice.
The spine is almost mint.
That's
so
perfect.
Even though I read my books, I open them like this. So if my spines get creased, man,
freaking out.
Yeah, it's like don't even. I'm like, I have to buy a new one now.
Ruined it.
That's why everything's in the garage. No one can come in here, except me. It's like no one's allowed.
I always did wonder where your studio was, because obviously it's a big space, but that's interesting.
Yeah, the Robservatory. This is actually the garage. It is a 2-car garage, and there is stuff all the way around. So like where I am here, it's like it's like a big C. These bookcases, these are called Billy bookcases from IKEA. And so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 14 Billy bookcases around me. So, yeah. And so they kind of circle around. And then over there on the far wall are 5 shelves of physical media, of Blu-rays and Blu-rays and 4K discs. And then in the middle here, there's shelving units, and I'm gonna put a screen here, so with the video game systems, and people can come in here, and so you can just chill out because the dogs bark, and maybe I'll just move in here entirely. And all I need is a refrigerator. Yeah, that's the thing. I just need a fridge, man. I don't know where it would go.
Where would you put it?
I don't know. I'm looking, going, where would I put the fridge? I have no idea. I used to have an R2D2 fridge, but then Sophie, Elizabeth's younger daughter, she absconded with that. It's in her room. Maybe I'll demand it back. Give me back R2D2.
Yes.
Or I have to find it because I think I've got a place for it, like right over there. It'll fit between
Squeeze
these.
it in.
And I've been hanging model rockets from the ceiling. I'm like, I'm going to start hanging more things from the ceiling.
I'm going to have to start doing that too.
Yes. Stanley, you were going to do that with your Rocinante, weren't you?
I was going to do that with my Rocinante.
Oh, did you get one of those? The crowdfunded?
Yes, I did.
Oh man, you know what? That might have been the most stupid thing that I did not do. How did I not order that? I didn't realize how big it was. I don't know what is it great?
Oh, she's enormous.
When I saw somebody did an unboxing, I'm like, why did I not buy the Rocinante? What moron? What was I thinking? It looks so good. So yeah, it's nice to know because they're like selling for like $900 or something. If you want.
Yeah,
That's
it's
insane.
something ridiculous now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I love my space. I'm just like, I love my spaceships, and I didn't get that one.
Well, I want your, I think it's from Space 1999. I'd actually commented on that in one of your live streams when I was working under a different name. And you were like, yes, that's the ship from Space 1999. I think it's called the Eagle.
Yes, it is. I have a whole shelf of them in multiple sizes. I have a 23-inch Eagle. I have two 22-inch Eagles. And then I have 8 of the 12-inch Eagles, and I have more on the way.
Wow.
You can get them. Yeah, so there's a company called 1612, and it's all one word, but it's spelled out 16 with the number 12. And
Okay.
and their Eagles are really expensive. But Eagle Moss Collectibles out of the UK
Right.
is they also got the Space 1999 license, and they're making 10-inch Eagles. Which so I'm like, well, I guess I have to start buying those too. Like the 1612 Eagles are great, and they're making the 1612. They're making 5-inch Eagles, but they're making the landing platform. So there's like a landing platform with the docking ring that comes out and it lights up and makes sounds. I'm like, well, I have to get those now too. You know. Like, who doesn't want to get those? Like, you know, it's Elizabeth doesn't like. She's like, well, these spaceships look like bugs. I'm like, they're Eagles. They're not bugs.
They're Eagles. Yeah, it's iconic.
I know if you didn't grow up with Space 1999, and I'm like, what I love about them is they look real, like they look functional. And Brian Johnson, one of the guys in Duncan, one of the imagination connoisseurs on my channel, used to work with Brian Johnson, who created the Eagles. And one of the Eagles that 1612 sold, I think you can still get it, is signed. It comes in this fold open, really nice box that has like a satin fabric interior with the eagle there.
Oh my god.
And it comes with a picture of Brian Johnson signing it. I'm like, well, I have to have that. You know, they're hideously expensive, but it's like, you know, I'll be dead soon. Someone can enjoy them later. But I can, you know, it's and now they're making 1612 they're making Thunderbirds. Like they're making studio scale Thunderbird models that are like, I mean, I'm like, I can't afford, you know, they had a layaway plan, but they don't, you know.
I was going to ask her, can you pay it off? And then
no. And now they're making the Eagles had a counterpart, the sort of the Hawks, which are the battle versions of the Eagles. They're making 2 of those. And then they're also making the Dragon's Domain Eagle from the episode where the front part unhooks.
Yes.
From the Eagle from the episode Dragon's Domain. And like, I gotta have that, you know. And now they're making a ship called a Super Swift that was in one of the episodes of Space 1999. I'm like, you guys are gonna make, you know, every time I get an email from them, I open it up and I get all giddy, like, oh my god, they're making a Swift. And then you look at the price and you're like, I'll figure it out somehow. You know, like pre-order.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Yeah.
I know, right? It's like, I don't know how long it's going to take to make. And now they've stopped. You used to be able to pay like 25 pounds and they would hold one for you, but they stopped doing that.
They stopped doing that.
No, so now you have to come up with the green. Like when you see 3 numbers all next to each other with the pound sign, then it's like, oh,
you have to buy them.
Oh, that's going to cost you.
Do you think that's because people would kind of put the thing down and then not go ahead and buy?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But sometimes I do things like and don't realize it. Like I ordered, they're doing die cast ships from UFO, the series UFO, and so they did the interceptors, and the interceptors. There were 3 interceptors that would launch, and they would launch out of moon craters, like craters on the moon. So the UFO interceptors they put out each came with like a crater, and I didn't realize how big these things would be. These craters are like, like this big, and I'm like, I gotta have 3 of them. So and they took the money, and I'm like, oh my god, this is hideously expensive. How am I gonna? But I'm like, I gotta have them. So of course they're on a shelf. You have to have a shelf with all 3 craters lined up.
Yeah.
And then I only ordered 1 UFO, and I'm like, well, then they ran out of them. They said they're gonna make more. So these are the problems. I mean, other people are dying of cancer, and I'm like, I've got to get 2 more UFOs from UFO to go with my interceptors. Like, what are you gonna do? And then I have to figure out a way when they get delivered through the mail or the post, as you would say in the UK. I have to figure out a way to get them off the front porch before Elizabeth sees them and says, "What are in those are those more action figures?" I'm like, "No, baby, these are not." And they're not. They're spaceships, but she didn't ask me that. So I can say,
it wasn't specific, exactly.
You can get around it.
Yeah, I mean, she knows when Blu-rays come because they're like in flat boxes, and unless they're in like a big square box, like came yesterday, she's like, "That's not just one Blu-ray." I'm like, "No, the Shout Select was having a sale, 50% off. I had to get some things that which I'm going to show today on Let's Get Physical Media."
Which is after us, I think, today.
She's like, "Do we have toilet paper? Have you bought toilet paper?" I'm like, "I don't know. We're running out."
I haven't got time for nonsense like that. There's DVDs and toys to buy.
So
toys. Who needs toilet paper?
I mean, I didn't think that my mom's like, when I talk to my mom, I try and talk to her a couple times a week, and she's like, "Are you still buying the same things you bought, or I bought you when you were 8?" And I'm like, "Yes, Mom." As a matter of fact, I had a Dinky Eagle from UFO, or I had Dinky Eagles, and Dinky was a UK company that made die-cast planes and cars. Yep. Yeah, and they made 2 Eagles, and they made a Space 1999 Interceptor. So, I mean, a UFO. Pardon me, Space 1999 Eagles, UFO Interceptors. And I told my mom, I said, "Do you remember the green?" I said, "The green spaceship I had with the big white missile that would fire." She goes, "I bought you that." I said, "Yes." And I just bought another one recently, and it came with a moon crater. and my mom's like, "Didn't I buy you that when you were like 5?" And I'm like, "Yes, you did." And I'm buying another one now. 3, in fact.
And I loved it.
And yeah, my mom's just shaking her head. I could just hear her. She's like, "Are you ever going to grow up?" And I'm like, "Why? Why?
What for?"
Yeah.
What's the fun in that? Exactly.
So that's what YouTube has done. It's given me excuse. Like, I have to buy more Blu-rays because I have to show them every week on our stream.
Exactly.
And now Az and I are doing with Justin. I can't make Justin can't think I'm a punk. It's like, well, I've got to get the heavy Mando. I've got from Mandalorian. You got to get that. And if I didn't, I would look like a punk. Game, then, yeah. I had to get Vampirella. I'm like, well, I got to order Vampirella because I can show it on the show. I have something really good coming, and I hope it gets here before Wednesday.
Oh my gosh!
Actually, I have 2 things, and one of them is really good, and one of them, actually, they're both really good. One is actually a real person, and one is a fantasy character, from fantasy. So
okay,
interesting there, guys.
Mm-hmm. So keep your eyes peeled for that one, guys.
Yeah. I know everyone's going, "I can't wait." It's like an Endgame's coming out. It's that exciting to see which figures Rob gets on Wednesday. No.
Do they? Everyone gets really excited for these figures, and you can see it in the chat. People are like, "Well, I've just bought this, and I've just found this, and Rob, you had this, so I've had to go buy this, and Az had bought this, but I want it." And
well, like, I have to ask you, Samantha.
Yes.
Well, both of you, Purple and Samantha, obviously, to hear that the ladies go off and buy the Rocinante, that gives me hope. I mean, this is my kind of channel. So do you have to, like, have you always collected stuff? Have you always collected fantasy stuff, or do you have other spaceships other than the Rocinante, or did you buy it because you're a fan of The Expanse, or?
Well, I bought it because I'm a huge fan of The Expanse, but it was actually gifted to me by my other half, Generalissimo Hefe, as the GoFundMe was coming out for it, or the Indiegogo. I can't remember which one it is now because I'm just so excited about it. But in fact, I'm ready to go unhook myself and go get it off my shelf behind me. But I don't know if you'll be able to see it. But she's up there. Just way high in the background.
Yeah. Oh, I can see it standing up next to the Star Trek book.
Yeah.
That thing is huge.
It's massive.
You're gonna have to
She's
go
a big girl.
I am bummed out. And then, of course, Purple, you've got the great. Is that an Iron Prime 1 statue? I forget, you told me that before, but
it is. It's actually one of the sideshow.
It's sideshow.
Sideshow figures. It's not the limited edition one that came with the extra arm, but
Right.
it is one of those. But
I just
the one
love
I really
it.
want is the quarter scale one.
See,
as big as I am.
I mean, that's amazing. Those I love. When I was a kid, there were no. I mean, growing up, there was no girls that you could find that would have these things.
Mm-hmm.
And when people say that, I'm not being sexist. It's just it was
No,
true.
it's true.
You know, there was no one, and I've watched over the last 40 years. It's been really interesting to watch fandom change, and it really I started to notice, like when Sandman, Neil Gaiman's Sandman, the comic was coming out, more girls were coming into the comic store to pick up that specific comic because I think because of the character of death.
Yes.
And then there were there were more like the Vertigo books, and then the influx of anime combined with like things like Sailor Moon. So girls started to grow up watching more anime, and then video games. You know, girls became gamers. And all like at Comic-Con, when I started going to Comic-Con, it was like old dudes rifling through long boxes of comics. And now, you know, 33 years later, you go there and there's just as many women as there are men. And you see multi-generations of families. Guys are bringing their kids, guys, mothers and fathers who are all obviously all into this. They're wearing, so it's now multi-generational, and it didn't used to be that way.
No,
and
That's
it's
true.
now I mean, I can't imagine the guys that are like in college and in their 20s. I mean, they can date girls that collect this stuff. I mean, you can find a geek girlfriend. I can't imagine. It must be like Nirvana out there. I don't know if it's for you know, your significant other. I don't know. Did you bond over the fact that you wanted a Rocinante? He's like, baby, you're the girl for me. I'll get you one. You know?
No, I think it's just longevity at that point. But he knew how much of a fan I am of The Expanse, and was just like, okay, she has to have this because she's gonna lose her marbles when she sees what kind of this package is gonna be.
It would have been so great to have grown up and have somebody that you could have shared all these passions with. So I think, you know, being younger today is much cooler because there's so much stuff now. Like you can get anything you want.
Oh yes.
You know,
so
if you want
stuff.
It's unbelievable, and all of it's the best it's ever been. Like everything is they have CG files, so they can, you know, 3D print things that are perfect recreations of whatever you want. Like my friend Jeff Bond, there's a movie that came out in '79 called The Black Hole. It's a Disney movie.
Yeah.
Well, it has the spaceship, the Cygnus, looks like a giant chandelier in space. So some dude, it took like 2 years to do it. Some dude 3D printed model parts of the Cygnus, and then the model, you have a clear plastic like rectangle that you build the thing around, so you can illuminate it from the inside. When they made the plastic model of it in 1979, it was all solid. But now you can get this Cygnus model that's twice the size of any model they've ever had, and you can light the thing up so it looks like it does in the movie. And I'm like, that is so. I go to Jeff's house. His garage is completely full of hundreds of Starship models. He's built. I mean, he's got a 2-car garage full of Starship models, and he's always building. He's putting pictures up on the internet and stuff so you can see him. But I go over to his house and I just salivate because he's got every spaceship model you could want, like every version of every. And I'm like, man, we live in such great times now that you can get all this stuff.
We really do. Yeah, I grew up with toys like from the 80s, like He-Man, She-Ra.
Yeah.
Those kind of toys, and now they're being re-released as like retro versions,
and they're awesome.
Perfect. Yes.
I mean, and that's the thing. I'm not like I used to be. I don't want my old retro toys. I want the best versions of the toys now. You know, the action figures are the best versions of action figures ever. And so there's a lot of people that have cool, like I'll watch YouTube channels of guys like I think there's a channel called Analog Toys, which is a guy in Australia who has a great collection of vintage toys. And I love watching, because I had all that stuff growing up, but I just don't, I had no no loyalty to it. I mean, now the newer stuff is by far the best. So it's like,
it's not about nostalgia, it's having the best possible version as you're collecting.
Because all the old, like when the old, I always go off on this, the old licensed toys, they always looked wrong, or they were not in proportion, and they weren't cool, you know. And now I'm like, even when I got it as a kid, like I've told this story before, but when the Kenner TIE Fighter came out from Star Wars, it was molded in white plastic, and the wings were too short. They weren't high enough.
Yeah.
And it had this really dumb feature where the wings were spring-loaded, but they were so heavy that I guess it was supposed to simulate, you know, in your mind, you're supposed to, oh, it's exploding. But instead of the wings like blowing outward, they would just kind of flop down. And I'm like, who thought this special feature was great? Like, they can't mold it in the right color. The wings are too small. And then this stupid action feature, because they figured, well, kids it has to do something.
You have to blow up something.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I can imagine that in my mind. Why do you have to make it stupid? And then my mom, when I unboxed this thing, and I'm just kind of looking at this going, this sucks. And my mom was, I've been trying to get this for you for 6 months. Like, what's wrong with it? It's exactly what you wanted. I go, it's not you, Mom. I want to thank you for getting it, but look how lame this is. And my mom's like, how is it lame? It's a cool toy. I'm like, it's not even the right color. And
but it's wrong.
Yeah, and then you'd have to get the right spray paint. You'd spray paint it. You'd take it apart and spray paint it. You know, and
my brother did.
Yeah, and you had to do that. And my parents, they thought, what kind of a nutty kid? Like there's an episode of the original Star Trek series called The Doomsday Machine. Yeah. And there's the constellation. They find the constellation. So sometimes one time my mom comes in. She came back from grocery shopping, and I'm in the fireplace, and I'm burning this model of this, because the Enterprise model would come with decals of all the other starships, so you can make all these. And I've cut out. And I'm all the damage that's on the constellation, and I'm burning the edges. And my mom's like, what are you doing? I'm like, Mom, I'm making the constellation. Because you're burning up a brand new model. Like, I'm not burning it up. I'm turning it into the wrecked constellation from the Doomsday Machine. Yeah. And then I had it up in my bedroom, and it kind of still smelled like burnt plastic. And my mom's like, what? Why do you have this like in a prized position? This is like this is a mess. I go, it's awesome. It's a mess. Yeah. It's the constellation. And I had to get extra styrene to put it inside where I'd cut out so it looks like there's decks, the different decks.
Oh my gosh.
My mom's like,
you went all out, man.
Oh yeah. 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 And now you can even on the secondary market, you can find people that have made molded pieces of the decks. So if you want to make your own constellation, there's pieces that have been 3D printed that you can actually put in, so you can wreck it yourself, but then you can buy from the secondary market. We live in a wonderful world. A wonderful world.
There really is no better time to be a fan of something than right now.
No,
there really isn't.
You can find if you look hard enough.
And that's the thing, you can get anything. I mean, if you name it, you just Google like, I want this. You know, and then somebody like tiny cigarettes. Oh yeah, they're right here. Yeah, these are I bought these actually on one of our shows. Like, I looked up, I'm like, I wonder if they make red apple cigarettes from Tarantino movies.
Oh my gosh!
In 6 scale. So and a dude in Spain, sure enough, here they are, the red apple cigarette container.
That's crazy.
And here's the crazy part. There's cigarettes in them.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't know if you can see, but yeah, there's cigarettes. And that's some insane. Of them are lit, like they're smoked in various sizes. So you can
holy cow, Rob.
Yeah, and I'm looking at these and I'm like, it was like $20, somebody's Etsy store. And I'm like, bruh, we live in an amazing this is an amazing world. Time. I'm like, I'm glad I'm alive now, you know. And I'm in a way, I'm kind of glad I mean, I love kids. I don't have any of my own, because it would have been a problem if I had children. Dad, can we play with your toys? No, absolutely not. You can't. No. Let me get you a video game system. You'll forget everything. So,
I think that's why I started collecting once my child was grown and out of the house.
Yeah, I mean, now did you pass on fandom to your children?
I did. very much so. In fact, my kid was the one dragging me to the comic book store. Store opened, so I was like, "Holy crap, this is really cool. This is Nerdvana right now."
Now, when you were a kid, were you into stuff as well?
Battlestar Galactica was my big deal. I really stuck to that one. I had the original Cylon Raider and Viper before they recalled them.
Right, but when you because I wasn't going to give up my missiles.
Hell no!
If you send us your missiles, have a Hot Wheel car. Yeah, I was like, I don't want a Hot Wheel car. I want my missiles, and that was all because some idiot kid choked on one of the missiles, like put it in his mouth and fired it. I'm like, why do all children have to suffer because someone raised an idiot? I mean, it was so. And my mom, I remember that because they made a whole range of those ships, and my mom gave them all to me, I think, for my birthday or something. She's like, "Well, I've heard that there's something wrong. Like there's these missiles are a choking hazard." I'm like, "Mom, I'm not going to stick this in my mouth."
Not stupid.
I mean, I'm not giving up my missiles. And
no. I fought tooth and nail to keep those. I still have them. They're boxed up. Upstairs. I've got my Eagle Moss ones up now, but.
And that's some idiot. That kid prevented the 3 3/4-inch Boba Fett from having a firing missile backpack. Yeah. Look what that one kid prevented the world from having.
It had a ripple effect.
Completely.
It did.
Oh my gosh.
All because some kid choked on a missile. Butterfly effect meant fans everywhere could never have a firing 3 3/4-inch Boba Fett. I mean, to me, that's what happened to evolution. Why wasn't that kid erased from the timeline? And so we could all have had a firing. Yeah. I mean, because really, what's important in life? That kid's life, or we having a firing Boba Fett?
Firing Boba Fett and firing Cylon Raider and Colonial Viper.
Because imagine what that kid grew up to do. What kind of idiocy he probably brought down on the rest of the planet.
Oh, don't get me started.
Toys have always been dangerous. Did you guys have was it lawn darts?
Oh yeah.
This big and
played the hell out of lawn darts.
Lawn darts. I mean, you look at what that was the thing. Like, you're gonna ban little tiny missiles from a Battlestar Galactica toy, but yet lawn darts, which I mean, if you're gonna kill, or even croquet with those mallets, you battle with croquet mallets, and we had chemistry sets where you could blow shit up. It's like, come on, you're gonna let us play with horrible chemicals and all that. But back in the day, I mean, kids were trusted to be smart. Now we're all infantilized and not me, but little kids are. Everyone acts like, oh, these special snowflakes have to be protected from anything. I'm like, I think every kid should have a chemistry set, because with all the information available on the internet, imagine what kids would rot. They build bombs.
Yeah.
They blow. Yeah, right.
Mine blew stuff up.
I'm gonna the Anarchist's cookbook and my chemistry set. Happy Christmas.
Next thing you know, the fire department has showed up. It's like, oh, look at that. All right.
I mean, I always said to kids, I'm like, look, if you're going to get in trouble and you're going to do bad stuff, make it spectacular.
Yeah, go big or go home.
Yeah, like I can be mad at you for doing this, but it was pretty clever what you did. I mean, you secretly pat him on the back. Like, you didn't just break somebody's window with a baseball. Like, you committed a white-collar crime. You ripped off 10,000 credit card numbers and bought a bunch of cool stuff. I'm like... That's my kid. I mean, I never had. I'm sure I'd feel differently as a parent. But,
But no, you're right. Because I remember, being a kid, we used to do really stupid things. We climb lampposts, you'd jump from trees.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or you just get to, like, go somewhere by yourself on your bike.
Yep.
Now it's like, I've got friends that have had their kids stopped by the police if they're walking home from a friend's house, like a mile away. And now, like, well, why are you by yourself? I'm like, we were always by ourselves. My mom was like, just come back for dinner. We didn't know where we went. Yeah. We had no pagers, and that's so weird. Like, we were free range kids, man. Nowadays, kids are like, their time is all programmed, or they can't be away from their phones or video games or whatever. I'm like, no, man, we're gonna go throw rocks. That was enough. We're gonna go into the woods and play Army. we did a lot of that. We played a lot of Army in the woods. We had great woods behind our house. It was great.
Yeah, we did the same thing. We went into the woods and would just scatter. and play army men or whatever, or, you know, some sort of violent game. But we'd be gone all day.
Yeah. We played Capture the Flag in the Woods, where people would have positions like they would have to defend, like, and you'd have to storm and you'd throw another kid off the hill or whatever. And it was awesome. People loved it. It was great.
Oh, we had a blast.
Did you guys ever make funnelators? So funnelators, you get a funnel, and then you take surgical tubing, right? And you cut 2 holes in the sides of the funnel. And you have surgical tubing, and one kid would hold one side and one kid would hold the other side. And you take a water balloon and you put it into the funnel, and then you would pull it back. You could launch water balloons about a block because the thing was so powerful. And you'd sit there and you'd never know, like, you'd try, and you'd have like a spotter who had like a walkie-talkie. Yeah, there's a car coming, fire, you know, and these water balloons would land. I mean, they would go so far. And they would come, nobody would know where they came from because they were from a block away. They were that powerful. I'm like, do kids do that anymore? Do kids make funnelators like we used to? I mean, we did, and model rockets. You know, we would launch model rockets in neighborhoods, and we'd set them on fire and shoot them Estes model. It's like,
yeah, we used to do that too.
Yeah, do kids do that anymore?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, now you'd think that with cell phones, there'd be huge channels of kids, like the kids doing bad stuff. I guess I mean, Jackass and all those shows all popularized all that stuff. But as a kid, I guess kids don't do that anymore.
No,
I mean, they pull pranks or they make TikTok videos or teenage girls get into OnlyFans. You know, I mean, I would have, if I was a teenage girl now, I'm like, I need money. What do I do? I mean, you can market the hell out of yourself on the internet now.
Well, I mean, there's toys to pay for. I'm just saying, Rob.
I know, right? I'm like, that's what I need, you know. But I don't even know what it's like to be a teenager today. Like, I can't even imagine.
I don't think I could survive.
Yeah,
I honestly don't.
No.
Or I'd be broke because I'd be buying all these toys.
Yeah,
that we have such wonderful access to now.
I mean, it's endless. I mean, the things, even whether it's toys, whether it's books, you know, Toshin Books, the Toshin Book Company, they publish these really beautiful, oversized hardcover books. They like to have these $200 the James Bond archives. You know, and they just put out the Star Wars Archives Volume 2, which is about the prequels. And you look at these things and you're like, well, I have to have that. I mean, if I was a 12-year-old and I'm like, oh, I want a $200 book. How do you afford that? I had a paper route. I have to deliver a lot of papers to get 200 bucks to buy one book.
Oh, yes.
That's what I had to do. I sell a lot of cookies.
Yeah.
Terry Pratchett fan. And there's a book that's just come out. It's about £150. So I'm thinking, how can I afford this book? But I really want it.
Yeah. Is it like from the Folio Society or something?
It is. Yeah.
It's from the Folio. I just got a Folio Society book. I'm going to show it on Let's Get Physical Media today. It's a 2-volume set of this definitive account of the Apollo program. The space program. And the Folio Society is another thing. I'm like, whenever I get something from them or I look at their site, I'm like, I have to leave. You know, it's like, oh, they've got, you know, Frank Herbert's Dune, and it's like $200.
Oh,
and you're
wow.
like, I want that. So I feel your pain. And like their books are $150, or the James Bond books they put out. Look, the Folio Society is putting out Mount the Golden Gun. I'm like, oh man. I mean, what I look around to all these books, and like, I don't want anyone to touch them. I read them once. You put them up. I'm like, no, you can't read my omnibuses. No, but what are they for? If someone's not reading these books, what are they for? Like, why do I need a mint condition copy of all of these things? Oh, see, look. Oh, wow.
Oh, that's cool.
These are the sort of things that I gravitate towards. So it's in a slipcase.
Yeah, man.
Oh, nice.
Wow, that's beautiful. Now, who published that?
This is by so it's Paul Kidby's artwork. So this is by actual Terry Pratchett's company. So this is the actual Pratchett estate.
Wow. Now, how many of those are there? Is there one of those for every Discworld book?
There isn't, unfortunately. No, this is kind of an amalgamation of all of the artwork from all of the books. So this is like his kind of artwork.
Wow, that's just beautiful.
It is gorgeous, but yeah, that's the sort of thing that I gravitate towards.
Yeah, I mean, and that kind of stuff is, I mean, that's really worth, that kind of stuff's really worth acquiring, you know?
Yeah. Well, my books, I collect the Star Trek books on, especially on the costuming and makeup.
Yeah.
The Westmores,
Yep.
especially. After all the work they did in Hollywood, holy moly, that opened up a whole other can of worms for me. So I was just like, oh, geez, the sewing machine is going to be working overtime.
Yeah, and they were a makeup dynasty. I mean, they still are, you know, in Hollywood, and that's multi generations of Westmores doing that kind of stuff, and it's amazing. And now that was really cool. They put out that Star Trek costumes book a few years ago.
Yeah,
that book is really nice, and because all those reference books, then they stopped publishing for a long time, and now they're being published a lot more, like all the Art of Marvel books, or the Titan books out of the UK is publishing a lot of art books and things like that, which are great because they stopped publishing those, and now they're kind of back, which I love.
Give me a good old fashioned coffee table book, and I am in.
Yes,
I love having those out.
Yeah, I do too. And the big, that's why I love those Toshin books. You know, they're hard to read. You put them out on you put them on your lap, and they're like this big, but they're still
like a 6-year-old with a book.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can't like take them to bed because it's hard to open it, falling off your knees or whatever your lap. But they're still great to have. You know, you can work out with them too because they're so heavy.
Yes, some of these are huge. I mean, I've got ones from Stan Winston Studios, for example. They did, which is a fantastic book, but some of them, like you say, they are ridiculously huge, oversized.
Yeah,
huge, but they're great. I didn't get the Rick Baker put out like a 2-volume set of his work, the makeup effects artist set.
Yes,
man, I wanted to get that. I haven't got it. One day I'll get that. That and the Ralph McQuarrie book of all the Star Wars paintings he did.
Oh, I would love to have that.
And they're coming out with the Marvels.
Amazing.
Yeah, they're great. And the MCU listed they were going to put out this 2-volume book set about the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it didn't come out. And now they've resolicited it. It was supposed to come out like 3 years ago, and it never came out. But then now they're redoing it, and I guess it's finally coming out, which is cool. I guess because now they can cover the entire Thanos saga.
Are they going to do it right though?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they just going to follow the MCU, and we're going to end up missing bits and pieces that we should have gotten in the films in the first place?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, maybe they might get into that. What was missing? What was different? What was changed?
I hope so.
Because like I heard that Falcon and Winter Soldier had a lot of stuff reshot because of the pandemic, and it was the first show. It was made before WandaVision, so they were having they had to figure out what the tone was going to be and everything. So, I mean, I'm
was
curious.
It supposed to be shown before WandaVision?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, it was.
It was originally going to be before WandaVision.
Okay.
But
I did not know that.
Yeah, I think then they went and filled. They were able to take more time to work out the kinks, so to speak. So,
and you're enjoying it, aren't you, Rob? Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, a lot of people don't. I think it's what's so strange is it's exactly what I wanted it to be, though.
Okay.
Because I wanted like a buddy cop, Tom Clancy spy thriller kind of a thing, and I'm getting that. So I think I really like it. A lot of people didn't like the 3rd episode, and it's interesting.
Really?
Yeah, and I understand the criticisms of the show, but I've been enjoying it for what it is. It's like somebody said it best. I didn't say this, but somebody else said that it was like reading a 6-issue comic book miniseries. Like they would have, I could see them publishing this story as a 6-issue miniseries that like the Vision and Scarlet Witch series, the miniseries. And you know, is this stuff perfect? No, but as TV goes, I mean, think about it. Everyone's comparing it to the movies as well, and it's like, they're pretty for television. It's pretty amazing in terms of its production values and the globe trotting they're doing and the visual effects technology. I mean, that opening action scene in the first episode with Falcon taking out those dudes, that was amazing. I'm like, this flawless effects work.
Yeah, we love
that. It really is. Yeah,
I love the 3rd episode.
I did too.
Yeah, I stopped at number 1. I've got to admit, so I've got 2 to catch up with. But
you get to see a woman. Yeah. She kicks ass. I mean, and she like dudes get killed they're getting impaled and shot. I mean, I couldn't believe how violent that episode was. I'm like, this is Disney Plus. You go, Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Kill some more folks. The body count was they killed innocent bystanders. An explosion in a building. These hostages, they just blew them up. You know, I'm like, wow, these people are pulling no punches. But I think the most interesting thing about that, and not many people are talking about this, in terms of the MCU, we've never seen the rest of the world. We've only seen the world through our Avengers characters.
Yes.
And now we're really seeing that the rest of the world's kind of messed up. You know, we got glimpses of it when they went after Hawkeye in Endgame. Like he'd been killing dudes for 5 years. So you kind of saw that. But now we're really seeing like the criminal underworld, Madripoor, and we're getting a taste of what the world out beyond the Avengers, what it's like. And I think it's really interesting. It's not a nice place.
A glimpse of how ordinary people dealt with the blip. Because can you imagine having half the population disappear and then 5 years later having them reappear? The catastrophic implications.
And they've dealt with that both in WandaVision, like in the third episode when we meet, or the fourth episode when we meet Monica, and you see her coming back from being blipped. I loved all that.
Crazy.
And how they're talking about what's going on. The fact that in the first episode when Sam and his sister are trying to get a bank loan, you know, and you find out that there's just no more money, you know, after people coming back, can you imagine, like, and you don't know, because you're not aware 5 years went by. Can you imagine, like, I don't know what it's like to have been blipped, but you know, you think a moment goes by, you're like, well, that was odd. I felt something weird happen. And then you realize 5 years of your life is gone. Your credit's gone. You have no credit. You have no bank account. You have nothing, you know, like, and then what do you do? Like, basically, what do you do? How do you buy groceries?
You've been declared dead, basically.
Like, and the banks, because you know the banks weren't going to put up. They're like, these people aren't coming back. Maybe after 1 year or two, then they're like, we're taking all this money that these blipped people have in their savings account. We're taking it. It's gone.
It's gone.
You know, and then you come back.
Forget about it.
I mean, it would be a mess. And they're dealing with that. The third episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier starts off with a commercial for this company that's dealing with people that have come back from the blip. And I'm like, and you see, like, they have refugee camps and they're out there. There's something nefarious is going on with this group.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm enjoying it. And when I see people, like, it's not bad. I mean, the criticism, people have valid criticism. Like, yeah, you're right. But I'm still, you know, it's not like the show Manifest, which came back this week, which is an awful, awful show that I love. But it's terrible. And it got even more terrible, but in such a way that I have to love it even more. Because they've doubled down on their awfulness to the point where I'm like, this show it has what I like to call an impossible premise, meaning that the very premise of the show is stupid, but it's impossible. Like, it might have sounded good on paper, but when in execution. So, do you guys know about Manifest?
No.
Okay, let me lay this on you, and you'll know why I love the show. So, like the blip in Endgame, surprisingly enough, a plane with a bunch of vacationers is coming back from the Caribbean, and it's flying back to New York. And when it lands in New York, the people on the plane find out that 5 years have passed. Like, they went through a time portal. And, like, that could be enough. Like, what happened? Why did this happen? But then it turns out that the people on the plane somehow have these callings where people they don't know, they're compelled to go help those people. Like, so-and-so's suicidal, or so-and-so might have a heart attack, and these people have to reach out and help them. So not only is it a time travel episode, but somehow they've been touched by God. But then they double down. Like, they find out that, I read something in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which means we're only going to be allowed to live for 5 more years or something. And they just pile on one ridiculous thing after another. Because, like, you think to yourself, okay, you're getting a calling, which means some outside agency is aware that this other person needs help. Yeah. So when I'm watching this show, I'm like, unless it's God, in which case that means God is looking out for these people. So couldn't God have figured out a better way to help these people than to have these time travelers from 5 years ago, give them a calling, which they have to figure out somehow. And then they have to go see if they'll make it. It's so, whoever thought
vague.
And now they're like, maybe they find the wreckage of the plane. So maybe the plane didn't really arrive. So maybe everybody's dead and they're in purgatory, like the island on Lost. And I'm like, man, they're just taking every horrible idea. And the cast, they try so hard. I mean, I wonder if the cast at like a table reads like, who wrote this? Like, how am I supposed to perform this gobbledygook?
Give me something.
And you know what? I was so happy when it came back. I'm like, oh, season 3, bring it on.
Season 3?
Oh yeah, like the end of season 1, some guy had some like, just some dude walking down the street starts vomiting more water than like he had been drowned in a past life or something. It was so stupid. I'm like, no way this show's going to get renewed for a second season. And when it did, I'm like, yes. And then I'm at the end of season 2, I'm like, no way can this possibly come back for a third season. And yet, here we are. Manifest season. And they find, there's a scene, I kid you not, one of the main characters, they see the wreckage of the plane, you know, and he's like, the tail section is calling me. And he literally goes up to touch the tail wreckage, and he gets flung back as if the wreckage is possessed or there's some kind of energy surrounding it, or because he's alive. And it's so. I watch this and I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, God bless everybody that makes this show. God bless them all. There's a reason. There's a reason it came out Easter week, 3rd season. Talk about the resurrection.
A resurrection.
The resurrection of Manifest. Happy Easter, everybody.
I've got to check out this show now, as awful as it is.
Oh, and it's so earnest. I mean, you don't realize just how awful it is when you're watching. You're like, I'm interested. Like, I kept tuning in. I'm like, where's this going to go? And, you know, and it's just because they don't know. Like, it's like, this is going to be like Touched by an Angel. Every week, we're going to have people help other people. And then in the background, they went through this 5-year blip in time. And but then now they just keep adding to this ridiculous mythology. And then so like they do things like
push it.
Oh yeah. And like there's a hot Indian actress, and it's like, you know, and then you find out, oh, she's been in a same-sex relationship. So I feel bad for lusting after her. Now I'm like, she doesn't play for my team. So they just keep adding, like, okay, let's get a little bit more woke, or let's do whatever they think of. Like, and they're like, let's do something no one's expecting. Let's make the hot Indian girl gay. And they're like, yes, let's do that. You know, and then you see the flashback story, and now they add more drama with her ex-lover, and it's great. And like, why? Because in Manifest, why not? Why not just add? And it's I'm like, great, I get some same-sex girl-on-girl action. Fantastic, Manifest. Bring it on. And are
you going to say that you just kind of flip it around? There's a silver lining here.
It is. I'm waiting for the space aliens to make their appearance. Clearly, there's got to be aliens, there's got to be angels, or there's got to be like people from the future, or maybe
all of the above.
All of them. You know, and because where else are they going to go? I can't wait. We have a new season of Manifest.
Oh my God, I got to see this show now.
It's just, but when you watch it, you'll be like, this is pretty good. You know, it's as it goes along that it's a slow creep. You know, it's mission creep.
And sucks you in. Yeah.
And by the end of the first season, you're just like, what? What? When's season 2 starting? And now you can watch it all the way through.
I was going to say I could binge watch it now.
You can binge Manifest, and you'll hate yourself for doing it, but not really.
I feel a little bit dirty, but it's okay. Yeah.
Right. That's right. That's exactly what it is, Valkyrie. It's a little dirty. You know, when you're with somebody, that was a little dirty. You want to get a little dirtier? Yes.
Season 3.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Nudge, wink, wink. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked when you did that. Do that again, Manifest. I want to be on your Manifest, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So, by the way, I hope I didn't hijack the show. Do we have a specific topic we are going to discuss?
No.
I don't know. Oh, good. Then this is perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I had a couple questions I wanted to ask you about Star Trek The Next Generation, but that's about it.
Oh, ask away. You know, I mean, it's no Manifest, but if you want to talk about TNG, you know.
I gotta watch Manifest now.
Oh, everybody should watch Manifest because, you know, it's all shows to all people. Whatever you want Manifest to be, eventually it'll get around to being it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you know, it will. It will. It's got a creepy kid. It, you know, it breaks its own rules all the time. Yeah. Like if you try, you had to be on this plane to go through this space warp, but then they just randomly found some dude in the mountains that was in the cave for a whole year. He blipped. What the cave has to do with the plane, they really haven't tied it all together yet. I'm sure they will have some cockamamie excuse, but like, of course, you know, why not just have people show up and it doesn't matter. You don't even have to have rules, you know, and it's everything that I would rail against on my own YouTube channel, but I'm so there for Manifest only because now I've become a big fan. I just want to be a supporter because I want to see how dumb this show can get. Yeah. And God love the writers. I actually want to call up the lead writer and see if I can get him to come on my show as a guest. I'm like, I want to talk to you about the most gloriously ridiculous show ever. And I'm like, what do you got? When you're in the writer's room, do you ever feel guilty? Do you feel guilty? The Star Trek Discovery writers don't. They think what they're doing is the Lord's work.
Oh, they think that, yes. They think they're doing everything by God.
I mean, and their show is just offensively stupid. Manifest is gloriously stupid. And there's a difference. There's a difference.
It sounds like all it's missing is a cameo from Nicolas Cage, and that would kind of just put the cherry on top.
Oh my God, I'm praying for this now. Nicolas Cage Manifest cameo. Purple Valkyrie. I'm going to write him. Purple Valkyrie had the best idea for Manifest. You know what? I'm going to tweet that out because there is an NBC Manifest. Yeah. Oh my God.
That's now we're writing the
idea I've ever heard. I will give you full credit for this, but now this has become my dream. You know, it's like Burt Lancaster in Field of Dreams. That's my dream, Ray Kinsella. That's my dream. This is my dream, Purple Valkyrie. You gave me a dream I didn't know I wanted. Nicolas Cage as God in Manifest.
Oh my gosh.
I want everybody watching this show right now. I think it's at NBC Manifest. Okay. Everybody has to start. We have to start a letter writing, a Twitter campaign. Nicolas Cage as God in Manifest and get it trending.
Oh my gosh, glorious? Yes, we have to do that.
And if you do it, I think also there's a Manifest writers Twitter account. Hit them both, and that's what we want. Nicolas Cage as God in Manifest.
We're just gonna spam them now until they just tell you to shut up or just do it.
I mean, I'm sure the third season's not done yet. They might have time to just get that in. If he shows up sitting on a throne, you know, then some third party would make an action figure of Nicolas Cage as God in Manifest sitting on his throne. And because he has a throne, a chair, I would have to get it. I would have to get it.
Yeah, Rob would be the first in line to buy that.
Isn't it? Gotta have them chairs. I've got to ask, what is the attraction with the chairs? Or is it just you just really like figures with chairs?
You know, I think I don't know. Like I can't explain it. But like you know, I've got. Can you see he's behind Charlie Chaplin? I have Charlie Chaplin with his leg crossed and his cane up, sitting in a chair. I think it's because a chair is also a miniature accessory, so it makes the figure. Like, why would anybody package an action figure with a chair? Like, why? Like, the only chairs that, like Captain Kirk's command chair.
Yeah.
Like, I actually ordered a year ago. It hasn't come yet. Thanos is in his spaceship from Endgame.
The throne.
The throne.
The throne. Oh, wow.
Where is my Thanos throne? I spent $100. I pre-ordered. I put all the money down. I paid it all at once. I ordered it last May. It has not shown up. Where's my Thanos throne?
I mean, the Thanos figure itself is.
Thanos is huge.
It's huge. He's right here.
Sized, yeah.
This is, and I will not put.
Oh my goodness!
This is my Thanos hot toy. You know, and one day I'm going to put the batteries in the Infinity Gauntlet so it'll light up. But so it's for this figure. But here's the thing. Now here's how crazy we all are. So this Thanos figure is like $400. It's like $400. This
Holy
is my
cow.
second Thanos figure. The first Thanos, actually, this is they made a Guardians of Galaxy Thanos that I sold, that came with a chair. I sold a figure that came with a chair because he was too small. He wasn't the right scale.
Okay.
So I got rid of him. But now, so this is the second Thanos I have. The first Thanos doesn't have the armor on.
Yeah.
And it's the Infinity War Thanos. This is the Endgame Thanos. Now, it's the Infinity War Thanos that I want sitting in the chair, kind of like the Thinker, so I want him in a chair. And then for my Thanos triptych display, on the other side, one side of Thanos, I'm going to have this figure, right? But then they're putting out a third Thanos who the Infinity Gauntlet, the snapping of the Infinity Gauntlet, like he's got the wrecked gauntlet, it doesn't work, and his armor's all bloody, and he comes with a sad Thanos face, like, it didn't work.
Sad Thanos.
So I'm gonna have the sitting Thinker Thanos, like I'm still plotting, and then there's the Thanos from Endgame who's gonna fight all the heroes at the end, and then there's sad Thanos who's defeated, and I'm gonna put it in my case like that and have the Thanos triptych, and see, this is the thing, nobody's gonna care about this. Yeah, that's what it is, and that's nobody's gonna care, but every day I walk in here, I will look over and I will see my Thanos triptych, and I'll be like, oh, that's so cool. And only I'm gonna think that, but it's true. I like this. I like being on the stream because I can be more myself than I am, trying to read articles and things like that. But
reading articles.
You're getting stream of consciousness, Rob, today. That's what you're getting.
This is brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you can see that I'm really, I am this way. I am really this way. Like, it's not an act,
I know Sammy did have some questions for you, though, didn't you, sweetheart?
Yes, please.
Well, not really questions, just sort of observations. I completely geeked out last night and went through my TNG Blu-ray collection.
Oh.
That you worked on.
Did you watch season 2 when I hosted the conversation with the cast?
Yes. And I was freaking out because that is my crew. Picard is my captain. I finished my teenage years in high school watching Star Trek: The Next Generation. Brought a child into this world watching Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Literally.
And I was just like, what was it like to be Robert Meyer Burnett and sitting there on that set with just about the entire cast? The only one that was missing was Denise Crosby, of course.
Yeah, but I interviewed her later.
Okay.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, for the viewing audience, for 3 years when they were doing the Blu-rays for Star Trek and Enterprise, we, my friend Roger Lay Jr., I was editing a film, and we were working at a company called Landmark, and Roger was making a documentary as well. So we didn't really know each other. We'd say hello and every day, and he gets the gig. And I had done a lot of DVD special editions. I worked on, Lord of the Rings and Narnia and the X-Men movies. And I had spent a long time doing DVD documentaries. And he said, man, I'm getting the gig, because we knew they were remastering the series in HD. And I'm like, he wanted me to, he hired me to do it with him. And I'm like, bruh, this is awesome. And at first we weren't going to get the cast. And so Roger and I, we knew a lot of production people, so we knew we could make these really great, because no one ever made really great in-depth documentaries where we really wanted to be able to sit down with people and ask the questions we wanted to ask. And there's a guy named Ken Ross, who we called him Big Daddy Ken because he ran the home entertainment division of CBS. And he was a legend in the home video community. And he said, look, the only way you're going to get the cast, we'll have to pay them for their time. And I'm like, and he's like, I'll get them for you.
Okay.
Oh my God. So what we got with the cast, but now before we had done anything with the cast, I knew that they were going to do a 25th anniversary reunion of the entire cast in Calgary in Canada.
Right.
So I had said, wouldn't it be great, since they're all going to be there, if we flew to Calgary and we'll get like some celebrity to sit down and moderate the conversation. And we'll do that. And then the CBS people were like, well, Rob, you do it. who knows the show better than you? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not an on-camera guy. I'm a little pudgy. You know, you get somebody good looking, and they're like, no, you'll do it. And I'm like, okay. Now, I hadn't met the cast yet. Like after that, after we did the thing, I sat down. We had 2-hour blocks of time spread out over the course of 3 years with each cast member. So we got to sit down and do real deep dive interviews with everybody that we spread out over the 7. Well, actually, there's 15 Star Trek discs because there's the seasons, and then the 2-part episodes were then put out in single disc editions that we did more documentary stuff for. So that first time we're up in Calgary, you know, and I'd met like Patrick Stewart once on the set of X-Men 2, 15 years before, and you know, so it wasn't like I knew these people. So I sit down, and first I was, because, you know, even though I've worked on films and things, you never get over meeting people. Like, I'm like, they're on Star Trek, man. I was beside myself, and I tried to be cool, you know. I didn't say much. I mean, I only had to say a few things and push them along, and then they were off to the races. But it was amazing. It was amazing sitting down with people. And like, I went to New York to interview Patrick Stewart for the first time because he was getting a Peabody Award. So we went out, and it was incredible sitting down and talking to him, because what was really interesting about these actors is what people don't understand is they really don't know much about Star Trek.
No.
And if you were, and
really
I
don't.
No, and I mean that from a canonical viewer's perspective. Like, if you were going to say, you know, that battle at Narendra 3 was pretty amazing. I mean, it turned the course of the war. They'd be like, what?
What?
You know, in yesterday's Enterprise, and the Enterprise C goes back in time, like, they would know what you're talking about. Yeah, Michael Dorn might. Michael Dorn might. But,
I was going to say, Michael Dorn knows everything.
Yeah, Michael Dorn, because he watches the show. Like, Brent Spiner flat out said, I've never watched an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Right.
And I'm like, what? You know, what do you mean why would I? You know, he basically played the same role for 7 years. It's not like his character had growth or anything, and he did a great job. But he's like, I was there. My experience watching a TV show would never be your experience as a viewer.
Right.
And all I would do is look at it and go, oh, I remember that day we were doing this. And I've heard that a lot from celebrities that I've interviewed, that they've told me that they just don't watch. Brent Spiner said, I watched all the movies because I was contractually obligated to go to the premieres. So I would watch and he was like interested to see how they were. And, but it was unbelievable. And all of them were great. They're all wonderful people. And our long form interviews, and you saw we use most of the stuff that we shot broken up over the seasons.
Sure.
They're really, really a warm, great, thoughtful bunch. And it was interesting because when, you know, Patrick Stewart, I said to him, I go, I don't want to talk to you about Star Trek. And he laughed. and he goes, well, what do you mean? I go, what do you know about Star Trek? And he goes, well, I was there. I go, but really, like, if I was going to, and then I didn't use the Narendra 3 thing. I used some other, like, you know, Temba, you know, My Arms Wide, or, you know, all that. He's like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I know. See, you don't know. And so I said, people don't want to hear about Star Trek from you. They want to hear about you. They want to know, when you interview people, they want to know, what's Patrick Stewart really like?
Yeah.
And how did this experience affect you as a person?
Yes.
Because, and that's the difference between the documentary stuff that we would do as special features, as opposed to like, tell me about your character. I mean, I hate interviews like that, because we know about your character because we watched the damn show.
Yeah, you know, you're talking to the actor rather than the character.
Yes. And I think that's what people want to see. So I sort of pride myself on the interviews that we did. Yeah. And I handled most of the interviews. Roger did some of the interviews too. Like he did mostly Enterprise, and we kind of split the duties there. And it was just delightful. I mean, both of those casts, both the Enterprise cast and the Next Generation cast, were wonderful.
Yes. There always seems to be a genuine camaraderie with them, especially with the various Star Trek casts. They all seem to be really close friends.
And you know, it's funny, like Gates McFadden is, she's an incredibly beautiful woman, like, and to be around, and so is Marina Sirtis, actually, and so is even now Denise Crosby as well. And they're lovely people. And you couldn't, every time I was talking like Gates McFadden. I'm like, I have such a crush. I didn't tell her this, but you don't want to be unprofessional. But you're like listening to her talk. You're like, this woman is what an exquisite woman she is, and just talking to her, she really is. And
I adore her.
Yeah, and she's so nice and smart and funny and insightful. And it was just the whole project. I worked on it for 3 years, and the whole project was great. I mean, once again, my mom's like, "So what are you doing now?" I'm like, "Well, Mom, I'm watching Star Trek episodes." And she's like, "Again? You're doing it again?" I'm like, "Yeah, but they're paying me again." And I'm like, I was being paid literally when we would get because we didn't get all the remastered episodes at once. We got them; they would trickle in as they finished. But as soon as they were done, they would send them to us, and we were the first people to see these remastered episodes outside of CBS. And like, I remember. So in season 3, they changed directors of photography. Marvin Rush took over as director of photography. So the look of season 3 was much different. When you get to episodes like The Enemy, which had they're in a cave where the Geordi and the Romulan are on a planet. Because it was finished on videotape, it was always this gauzy gray. There was never any real black. Yeah, it was terrible. And looking at episodes, like, we would get these episodes in, and our jaws would hit the floor. We're like, because you had never seen Next Generation look like this, and we were getting uncompressed files. Each file was 60 gigabytes. And I'm just like, oh my god! When I put on Yesterday's Enterprise, and it goes, it changes into the alternate universe, and everything's lit differently. It was, I mean, I say delicious. Like, if you were able to put that Star Trek episode in your mouth, it would be delicious. And it would be so savory and delicious. Yes, and you want to just stick your face into the screen. It looks so good. And those episodes were just like, oh my god. And the problem was, I don't think that Paramount did enough. People are like, well, we've bought these so many times on Laserdisc or on DVD or tape or whatever. Why do we need to buy them again? And if you were to take an episode, as it always existed, and then the new remastered episode, the difference is so extreme. And you're saying it really is. It was because they were all finished on videotape, and now they went back to the negatives, and they made these 2K files. It's too bad. I wish they would have done them at 4K, but they didn't think that far ahead. And I mean, it was just incredible. Like, I would sit there and watch, like, some of the film elements, like for the visual effect shots, had shrunk. So you had like the shots of the ships, but maybe the Starfield element or something had shrunk, or a nacelle element. And they had everything in the computer, and they would recombine. They were able to combine all the layers together. And I used to when we would go to CBS Digital, I would just sit behind the technicians, with my slack jaw, just, this is the coolest thing, watching them build. And there was one time, it was so cool. And they're working on Heart of Glory. And that's the Klingon episode from the first season, but they have footage from Star Trek: The Motion Picture. So I go to the girl who's compositing this, and I'm like, you have the raw effect shots from Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which I thought they had finished footage. She's actually just got the miniature photography of the Katinga class battlecruiser. I'm like, because as a modeler, you have this raw. What did those really look like? Because they were putting out a 1/350th scale of that battlecruiser. I say to her, I'm like, I know you haven't been sending us these things, but do you think you could send me all of these elements of the Klingon battlecruiser? So I would just ask for shit, and she's like, sure, because nobody would care. I would ask for, like, Star Trek 3 when you see Space Dock, because they use those again. They use in 11001001. They use that shot, and I'm like, could I? Because those are all ILM effect shots, and I'm like, right. Can I have those plates? And they're like, sure. So I would just get drives full of the raw effect shots. And I put them, I used a lot of them in the doc. So whenever you see the shots where I show the effect shots, the different all of that, and I might, or I might not still have all of that. And it was the craziest thing that happened when we were doing the show is there is a little person who his name is David Rappaport, and he was the lead actor in Time Bandits. He was the lead Time Bandit.
Okay.
He was originally in a third season episode called The Most Toys. Playing Kivas Fajo. And in the finished episode, it was played by Saul Rubinek.
Yes.
But David Rappaport shot for one day, and then he tried to take his own life. And so he was let go.
I remember that story.
Yeah, and he actually succeeded 2 months later, and he killed himself.
Yeah.
So I write CBS, and I'm like, because they had all the negative of the stuff that's shot, and I'm like, do you guys happen to have this negative from an episode called The Most Toys in the third season? And for me as a fan, like Roger and I were such fanatical Star Trek fans that nobody else in the business of making special features would have even thought to do this, if I can pat myself on the back. So I'm like, can you see if you have this negative? And then I get a call from CBS, and they're like, we found the negative that you're looking for, and we found the soundtracks, but it's never been opened. It's never been, like, it was developed, but it's never been used. And I said, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. You know, I didn't want to volunteer any information, so they would have said, and they're like, well, we found it. We're going to transfer it for you. And I said, yeah, we were thinking about using it for special features. So I get a drive, one of these, a drive exactly like this drive. I get one of these sent over from CBS. I plug it in, and it's the dailies, the actual footage, and it's synced up. And it's all the dailies of David Rappaport as Kivas Fajo. And I'm looking at this. No, other than the people that transferred this footage, it was never ever looked at. No one ever, even when they were making Next Generation, they just never looked at it.
Right.
And I'm looking at this footage, and I'm like, oh my God. And so I take it and I cut it together. I cut the footage together and edited it all myself. And I picked my takes. You know, I picked the takes I wanted to use. So I edited this stuff together, and I even did composites, because some of the stuff is Fajo talking to Picard on the view screen.
Right.
So I did even effects comps, so it looked like it was done. So it looked finished, and I send it back.
Wow.
And I'm like, for me as a fanatical Star Trek fan, this was actual unseen Star Trek footage that I got to edit. And like, I mean, this was a dream come true. I know most people are like, well, who cares?
That's a dream moment. Oh my God.
Total dream come true. But then I send it back. We had 2 lawyers. Like, we were the only people for 3 years. Our documentaries, even though they were documentaries, was considered new Star Trek programming. So we, for 3 years, were making the only new programming that they were making at CBS about Star Trek. So, and this was after Star Trek Into Darkness had come out. Okay. So we had 2 dedicated lawyers that really were, because they have to vet everything.
Yeah.
And so I send this footage over and these finished shots, and they're like, what is this? And they were like, so I had to explain what happened. And then they had to find the actual documentation. Like, every time when you're making a movie, every day they have call sheets and what's called production reports. So a call sheet is everybody who's working on that day. And then the production report says what they've shot and how much footage, how much film did they use, and all that. So you have those 2 pieces of documentation, and they're used like for SAG and all different reasons. They have that documentation. Sure. There was none of that documentation for this footage. It didn't exist.
Nothing.
So nothing. So according to CBS, this footage, because they reshot it, it's kind of like, in a way, it was the Snyder cut, where it was there. They shot it, but according to CBS, it didn't exist.
It didn't exist.
Yes.
And I'm like, I was like, this. I mean, this is lost, and I wanted it on the disc for my own edification. You know, I mean, I'm like, I want my. I didn't even put my name on as the editor. So eventually, I convinced them. I said, look, we got to put this on the disc. That's why you hired us to do this kind of stuff, to find this material. And they finally relented, and they actually went to David Rappaport's next of kin, to his family, because it was the last thing he ever shot before he killed himself.
Oh my gosh.
And they they allowed it, and it's on the disc. And it was another, that was something that I took great pride in it. Another thing that happened was on season 2, the set that I have that roundtable discussion on, there's Melinda Snodgrass's episode Measure of a Man, where Data is put on. It's a great episode. Well, Mike and Denise Akuda, the Akudas, who are the advisors on the project, they said, well, we gave Melinda Snodgrass, who was the writer of that episode, we gave her a videotape 25 years ago of a long version of that episode. And I wonder if she has it. If they have the long version, maybe she could bring the VHS tape back and we can digitize it and put it on the disc.
Yeah.
And so I called Melinda, and because we were interviewing her, we interviewed her for the discs. She goes, "Oh yeah, I have that tape." And so she's bringing it to us. And so I'm in New York when we were interviewing Patrick Stewart for the first time, and I'm in Big Daddy Ken's office in the CBS headquarters in New York. And we're talking about this tape, and I look at Ken, and I'm looking at Roger. I'm like, why are we going to use the VHS tape? We've got the negative. Why don't we actually take that tape and use it as the basis and rebuild this? It's 13 minutes longer, and we would have the very first and the only extended version of a Star Trek episode ever. And it's one of the best episodes of Next Generation. And Ken's like,
it is.
He's just like, why don't we do that? And so they did, and they had to create 3 effect shots, which they did. They went and CBS Digital redid the effect shots. And what was even cooler about this was, for the first 3 seasons, they had these theatrical events where they would Fathom events there, because Fathom, the company, put them out, and they put 2 of their HD remastered episodes in movie theaters, in 1,200 theaters, and we got to help pick which episodes should you do. And for season 2, we did Q Who, which is the first Borg episode,
right,
with Q in it, and then we did Measure of a Man. So this new extended version of Measure of a Man ended up showing in 1,200 theaters across, I think, North America and in the UK. And so, all because I said, why don't we just remaster this episode? Why? And I think, if I remember, they did put the VHS version on the disc, but they also, we have that remastered version. And so Melinda Snodgrass, who lives in New Mexico, flies out, and the Akudas and I and Roger, and it was like a party. We all go to the theater together. So there I was, sitting with Melinda Snodgrass in the movie theater, watching the episode that she wrote, the extended version that no one had ever seen, finished in HD. And she was like, and they made movie posters for this. So there's Fathom in the movie theater. They had the, one sheets, regular movie posters advertising. I have them all. And it was so, and as a Star Trek fan, I'm like, this is the greatest. I mean, it doesn't get any better, and it was just, and it was like that. Whatever we thought up, they just like, okay, guys, if you think that's what we should do, let's do it. And it was so much fun. Like, on the 3rd season, we wanted to do, because we were interviewing all the writers like Brandon Braga and Naren Shankar and Renee Echevarria and Ron Moore. And we're like, what if we got like Seth MacFarlane to host? Because we knew that Seth MacFarlane is a monster Next Generation fan, and he's already working with, he was doing, at the time, he was doing the remake of Cosmos, Carl Sagan's Cosmos, with Neil deGrasse Tyson. So we're like, Brandon, can you reach out to Seth MacFarlane? Like, we didn't ask to get approval. Yeah. We didn't go to CBS. We're just like, and Seth MacFarlane's like, yeah, I'll do it. And we explained what we wanted him to do.
Right.
And he shows up, he's like, yeah, I'll come down. We didn't pay him. We didn't pay anybody other than the cast. We had no money, and we didn't have the biggest budgets. So he shows up with like one of those yellow legal pads, like those long yellow legal pads.
Yeah.
Chock full of notes. So he's done all of this meticulous research himself because he loves Next Generation. And we called it, we were the first people to do one of these things we just called it Inside the Writer's Room. And he hosted it, and we shot it, and we shot it with multiple cameras, and, CBS couldn't believe it. Like, how did you get Seth MacFarlane to host this special feature? And we're like, we asked him, and it was the kind of thing where, and I think the reason that's what's so cool to me is that, like, with COVID, in our COVID world, now, you can kind of get to anybody. Like if you really want to, you know, as long as you have some kind of credibility. And I think he had such a good experience. He literally left our thing. He went to the airport, got on a plane, and flew to New York to begin rehearsals for Saturday Night Live, which he hosted the next week. So it was like, great guys, gotta go. And you know, he was off. And it's such a cool piece because now they've done shows on like IFC Inside the Writer's Room, but we were one of the first, if not the first, we were one of the first people to do it. Yeah. And it was so, I think those days are gone. I don't,
probably.
I don't think anybody will ever pony up the kind of cash because we did work on it for 3 years and it was an incredible amount of work. I mean, I would love to, this past year for my own film, The Hills Run Red, that I produced, I had shot a bunch of stuff in Bulgaria. Well, so I was finally 12 years after the fact, I was able to go back into all this stuff I shot and we created special features because they allowed us to do it, you know, Scream Factories, but I had already shot it. And I mean, I really would like to have done like these definitive documentaries, you know, they just don't get made anymore. And it's too bad because like Marvel's never had like the definitive. I like seeing the shows on Disney Plus on the making of the shows. Like the making of WandaVision was really good. And it just bums me out. Like as much as I hate Discovery, I really would love to have done a documentary on the making of Discovery because it has an interesting, as much as I might hate the show. I mean, I hate the show from a viewing perspective, but it would be fascinating to delve into it from a production standpoint.
Right.
You know, I'm like, why do you people possibly think that turbo lifts are like roller coasters, that they're, you know, and why is there all this free space?
It's so weird.
Like, where is that from? Like, why? Like, I don't know. And I mean, I would, they wouldn't have liked me. You know, I couldn't have contained my disdain and disgust for their show, but it would have been interesting just to find out what made, I mean, I would have been nice to everybody, but just what makes them tick. Like, what made you decide to make these decisions? And I think like, I would love to have done that. And people aren't going to do that anymore. They're not going to spend the money. They're not going to take the time. No. And it's kind of a bummer. Because those days, I think that as far as Star Trek goes, like I really wanted to do Deep Space Nine and even Voyager. I was going to
ask you about Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, absolutely.
They didn't remaster Deep Space Nine, and they didn't remaster. It took 4 years to remaster The Next Generation into HD. 4 years of a dedicated team of people working every day. You know, and it would take 4 years to do Deep Space Nine and 4 years to do Voyager. And unfortunately, the Next Generation Blu-rays did not sell very well because people are like, well, I've already bought Star Trek. They didn't understand the differences. The differences are immense.
It's incredible, the differences, because I have season 3 and season 4 on the original DVD. And to go back and watch The Best of Both Worlds. From there to the new HD. Holy cows, it's so much better.
So much
It's
better.
like watching a different show.
Yep.
It really is.
And it makes the experience of watching Star Trek The Next Generation better because it just feels it. You see the real color. You know, you can see the fabric when there's close-ups, you can see the fabric of the uniforms and the detail is just so much better.
Oh, it's way better.
It's way better. And when it's funny because when the Akutas like had to go back and they like when they have an insert shot when there's like a control panel or something, they had to go recreate a lot of those things. So they would put our names, like sometimes I think it's in the neutral zone, something like one of my name shows up a couple places. So now I'm if you go to like if you go to Memory Alpha and look me up, like and he is now the fictional, I'm a canonical character in Star Trek.
I found it on Memory Alpha the other night.
I'm just like, how cool is that, man? You know, as a Star Trek fan, I'm like, I'm in Star Trek.
Star Trek.
It was like,
not to brag or anything, but yeah.
And it was, I mean, but it was such a fun, like this was, I did for 3 years. All I did was literally talk about Star Trek and make documentaries about Star Trek and watch Star Trek and got paid to do it. I'm like, that's why if someone said to me, Rob, you've got a terminal disease, you have a week to live, I'm like, you know what? I had a pretty good life. Like, as far as an imagination connoisseur's life goes, I'm like, what more? I mean, yes, would I have liked to be I can still have time, hopefully, to be a filmmaker and make my mark on the world that way. But if I had to, I have to say that and people have always said to me like, well, don't you wish you had a bigger career in the film business? Of course, of course. But I've enjoyed myself like rather than pursue, say, directing more after I did Femme Fatales. I got to work on Star Trek: The Next Generation, make documentaries for 3 years, and that was I couldn't have. If someone said to me when I was 12 years old, Rob, when you're older, you're going to spend 3 years talking to all the people that made Star Trek, and you're going to interview all the cast, and you're going to sit down. I'd be like, come on, no way,
no way, not happening.
No, and it did, and like it's to lead a life where you can think back. That was very satisfying. It's good, like and when I think about people because the entertainment business is horrible. It's a horrible, horrible, awful business where it's just one disappointment after another. Mm-hmm. So for every 5 years that go by, you might get one win, and that was certainly a win for 3 years. And we won 2 Saturn Awards from the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. When we accepted the award, Sam J. Jones, who played Flash Gordon in Flash Gordon, gave us our award. I'm like, come on, Flash Gordon gave us our Saturn Award. I'm like, what?
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, most people wouldn't care. Like my mom's like, that's nice, Bobby. It's nice, but I'm like, Mom, you don't understand. Flash Gordon gave us a Saturn Award. And I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't get any better than that, and I mean, my mom's just like, she's like, now she's gotten to the point where she says, you're just living your childhood dreams. I mean, that's how many people get to do that. And then my mom's like, but you're still kind of a child. So I don't know if it's a good thing that you're living your dreams or a bad thing. And I'm like, no, it's good, Mom. It's good.
It's a good thing. Oh my gosh, Rob.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
this has been amazing, hasn't it, Sammy?
Well, you've listened to me yammer away.
I'm still freaking out, by the way. I'm still like, holy crap, it's Robert Meyer Burnett.
Well, I mean, Purple, you've done moderating for me, so thank you for that. And I like watching you both. I've watched the show before, and I'm delighted that you asked me to come on the show, and you've let me yammer away for 2 hours. I haven't let you guys get a word in edgewise, which
who cares?
Probably go off the stream and be like, that blowhard, we're never having him back on.
Oh, hell no.
Who is that guy?
Yes, you are.
Gonna drag you back on.
But yeah, this is I'll always come back on. And I just all I can think about now is you have a Rocinante, and I'm like,
will you stay with us for a couple of minutes while we cover the super chats, because everyone's been really generous also.
Oh yeah, sorry, but
I was gonna say
I got 20 minutes till I jump on with Dieter. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to kind of do it so you were jumping straight into your show, but everyone's been so generous with the super chats. I really like to
really have.
But everyone's saying thank you in the chats.
Oh yeah,
R&B, what a legend.
Oh, thank you, Teresa. By the way, I love your opening montage for this show.
Thank you.
I love that. Did one of you make it?
No, that was made by
actually our boss did.
Yeah, that was really good.
Mornings of Mischief. Yeah, he's very very talented when it comes to making videos. So he was kind enough to make that for us.
It's very cool. I was like, I don't know if I want to be on the show. I'm gonna get my ass kicked. But it's great. The montage is really cool.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Oh my God. I don't even want to read the super chats. I'm just so nervous.
Thank you, guys.
I know. I'm still a mess. The first super chat we got was from Darth Haster. He had it before the show went live. He said, keep the fires roaring for $5 super chat. Thank you so much.
We will.
The Darth Haster.
Psychodorf 9 with a $2 super chat. Game night fail, so food and movies. And I hope you watched our show too, because I know you did. Darth Haster with a $2 super sticker with the little, was this a Shiba Inu farting hearts?
Oh, I love that one.
And Roger Haynes with the $1.99 super chat. Thumbs up. Thank you so much, guys. And there's Psychodorf 9 again with a $2 super chat. Funny, it's the way I am about my gun locker. He's no touchy. Yeah, he's referring to all of Rob's toys.
I understand that, yeah. You
I
can
have a
look at
friend
them,
who has a gun
not too
locker.
much.
No touchy.
No touchy.
No touchy. And Mr. Tickle Trunk with a $10 super sticker as a Shiba Inu hugging a heart. Thank you so much, sweetheart.
Thank you.
And Danny Boy with a £5 super chat. As an RMB's Hot Toy streams cost me money. Lots of money. They should come with a warning. This stream has seriously damaged your bank account.
We started doing that. Az did it last week. Az is like, he flat out just says it at the top of the show.
I've had to put a disclaimer. It's gotten so bad.
Yeah, I think I'll do that this week. You know, I'll make an act because it's on my channel this week. I'm going to make a disclaimer. We are not responsible for broken marriages, or we are not responsible for anybody being out of their house for lack of rent payment or anything like that.
Oh my goodness! NB Geek, let's talk. It's usually let's talk Trek. It just knocked me off my game a little bit. But it was a $5 super chat. Okay, I had something cool to say. Then I see PV with a part of hair in classic femme fatale look. On top of Sam looking the best of the 50s. Thank you so much, Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse.
And Mr. Tickle Trunk again with a $2 Canadian super chat. I think RMB has been a guest on every YouTube channel I sub to. Probably.
I love doing it.
Rob is incredibly generous with his time. That is
I love it. I mean, to me, you know, to be on YouTube is to be now at a constant science fiction convention.
Yes.
You know, it's like we're all hanging out together. We all like the same stuff, and that's what I love. I just love geek. Like you've allowed me to. The show with Az allows me to geek out. Like we're unabashedly just like we're two grown men talking about toys. Like you want to tell people about the and people tune in for it. Like I never thought it was Az's suggestion. Az came up with the idea of the show, and he kept saying, you know, we should just do we'll just do a one-off. I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, I don't know. Do you think anybody would watch it? I go, I don't know. And we did it. Like 1,000 people tuned in. Like, oh, we're doing this show.
Doing the show. There it is.
Yeah. Because you can't, like, it's hard to explain. Like, I don't talk to Elizabeth like, listen, let's talk about, look at the detailing on this. Like, she's asking me this morning, I was watching some toy channel. She's like, what's the big deal with this heavy Mandalorian? I don't understand. And I'm like, I'm like, it's badass. And she's like, but why is it? Well, I don't understand why. Like, I like people with faces. Like, why the Mandalorian looks like a robot? I'm like, this is the heavy Mandalorian. It's got a huge gun. He's gigantic, you know. And she's like, her eyes are rolling back in her head. I mean, she likes characters. She doesn't understand why the heavy Mando's cool. I'm like, you don't like eagles either. I think they look like bugs. So no, but she's great. But
will you be getting the Mandalorian Boba Fett with the slightly chunkier physique?
I Dad bod Boba. Yes, I pre-ordered that. That face sculpt, the Tamora Morrison face sculpt, is unbelievable. You know, and what I like on like even Justin's even geekier than we are. Like he'll know things like I brought out my T-800, my Terminator, the Arnold, and Justin's like, you know, that's one of the only Hot Toys that ever came with a real leather jacket. I didn't even know that. I didn't realize that. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, yes, it does. And I'm like, this is why I love you, Justin, because you know what materials the figures were made with. And it's like, bruh.
Oh God, bro. Check it out.
That's it. I mean, where else but YouTube could, you know, have these kinds of conversations? Everybody would, if I was like in a bar having a conversation, people would look at you going, what are you talking about? You know,
yeah.
Sliding down the bar a little bit.
Yeah, they're.
Where did we get to, Sammy?
Oh, I'm sorry. Going back to the Spike and Madness with a $10 super chat. Good afternoon, lovely Valkyries and RMB. Sammy, you look like Lucille Ball today. Gorgeous. Purple, looking ravishing as always. Rob, get a haircut, you hippie.
I just got a haircut.
Yes,
my hair was like down to here.
On Twitter, I saw all the videos you posted.
I know, right? I was getting a haircut. It's not, but you know, I just like the fact I can be this age and have hair at all.
Right?
So
Speaking,
So funny.
that leads us to our next person who has a $4.99 super chat, Mark the Infinitely Tired, who might be getting his head shaved for charity.
Ooh.
Wanted to know if we ever made Coke can cannons. I did make Coke can cannons.
We only smoke pot out of Coke cans. Made, you'd make the little indent and poke the little holes, and and you have the little carb and be like, light it up like this. Oh wait, we didn't do that.
We didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
No, sorry. So, anyway, Mexican Iron Man with a $15 super chat. Thank you very much, Mexican Iron Man. This is such a fantastic show. I never get tired of Robert Meyer Burnett. And ladies, great job. This was an awesome show. Thank you, Mexican Iron Man.
Thank you.
Love you, sweetheart.
I love that guy.
And Mark the Infinitely Tired again with a $1.99 super chat says #Mojo matters.
Yes. Mark has this theory that if WandaVision had included Mojo, it would have been so much better. It would have made so much more sense.
I would love as a fan of that. I would love that, although it'd be a little hard to explain to people who's Mojo, what is the Mojo verse, who's Long Shot and Spiral. I mean, that would have been a but I would have been there for it.
It would have been fun.
It would have.
And then last one I have on my page right now is Mexican Iron Man with a $10 super chat. This is a wonderful show /stream. Thank you, Mexican Iron Man. You're a sweetheart. I'll refresh my page because I know we got some more in.
We did, yes.
Oh my goodness. I think Robert Pearson was the next one I found. Yes. Robert Pearson with a £5 super chat. He says, thank you, ladies in RMB, for an incredible and entertaining stream. P.S. Teresa is your biggest fan, RMB.
Oh,
that's nice. So sweet. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. Valiant Renegade. Hello there. How are you?
Hey.
Hail Purple.
Elizabeth
Robert.
is in this stream. She busted me.
Oh,
yes, she did.
Rob, I love robots. She has us. I mean, come on, baby. I just use you for a foil. I mean, that's not, I don't mean anything by it. I know you love robots. She has my Robbie the Robot from Forbidden Planet on her desk. And she's got C-3PO and R2-D2 she's using.
That's love.
I know, right? She's got my die-cast R2-D2 and C-3PO. The fact that she has them at all, that is love. But Elizabeth is very lovable. You can't not love her. To know Elizabeth is to love her.
She is.
I'm telling you, no girl, my ex-wife, she never touched shit. Elizabeth, she can touch my R2-D2s and my C-3POs whenever she wants.
Okay. La la la. The Valiant Renegade with a $4.99 super chat. Hail Purple, Robert, and Samantha just popping by quickly to say happy Easter. Texted Loki earlier. We'll watch the stream replay later. Awesome. Thank you so much, Valiant Renegade.
Thank you, sweetheart.
And Matt Rissman with a $4.99 super chat. Thanks so much for an enjoyable show. Thank you, Matt. I think the chat just jumped on me. God, I hate it when YouTube does that. Holy cow. And Rambling Canuck with a $2 super chat. Great show. Always fun. Thank you so much, Rambling Canuck. We love you, sweetheart. And that is all I've got on my list right now.
Yes. We did just have one from coming in on Stream Elements as well from Not Ryan Johnson, and it's $100. So I'm just going to pull up the the message if you left one. So thank you, Not Ryan Johnson, you sweetheart. Thank you.
That was so sweet. Oh my gosh. So hi, Elizabeth. I didn't know if that was you or not. I didn't want to ask.
Yes, no, you can always tell. She's there. Elizabeth Bell. There she is. She's the best because
she is.
I like talking about her on the stream.
Ah, cool.
And Not Ryan Johnson said, dropping off some sweet loot to a great channel. And this is not a mistake. Keep up the great work. Enjoy. Thank you.
That's very nice.
Ryan Johnson. That was so precious.
So sweet of you. Thank you. We really appreciate
it.
And we've also had a couple of new members as well, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
Thank you.
Wow. Oh, we've got new members too. I didn't see them they're not in the supers. So we're a well-oiled machine here, Robert.
I'm right there with you. I know what it's like. I'm like, yep. By the way, somebody asks, does it come a Statesman asks, it's not a super chat, but does it come with the Palomino? That's all the question is. He would be referring to the Cygnus from the black hole. And you do, it does. I mean, it doesn't, you have to buy it, but they did 3D print a Palomino, which is the ship that brought the main characters from the black hole to the Cygnus. It's that's kind of a cool ship. It's kind of this cylindrical thing with this triangular base where the engines are. It's pretty neat, and it lands in the front of the Cygnus, which is cool.
Oh my gosh, I want that.
I know, right?
I want your that so bad right now.
Well, maybe if I go to Jeff's house and pull a heist, I'll trade you for your Rocinante.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know.
Rocinante is a high price.
I am so pissed that I didn't get that, and to see now, to actually see it judged on your shelf up there, I'm like, God,
it's huge. Well, hang on, let me disconnect and I'll go grab it real quick.
And
hold on.
That's all I need. That's all I need.
Said, Rob, are you a fan of Maya in season Space 20?
The lovely Catherine Shell. Who isn't? I love. Oh my God, that thing is huge.
So, here she is.
Oh, man. Huge. I am so pissed I didn't get that. I was mad before. Enormous.
And you can take the landing gear off and just have it on a display like it's taking off. God. So yeah, it's 22 inches.
That's what she said. That's I'm so upset. Man, I want that. I didn't realize it was so big.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Those things are like $900 now. Why did I not buy that? Why? Elizabeth's like, I want that. Yes, I want that too, honey. $900. I gotta say, wow. They gotta manufacture more of those. That is so cool.
Aren't these beautiful?
Yes.
They really did a top-notch job making these.
And it wasn't just the ship, was it? It was all the extras as well that you got with it.
Oh, I got so many extras. I got challenge coins. I got hot plates. I got posters. I got trading cards. I got pins. I got flags. I mean,
man,
it was this massive pack of stuff. You got to go back and see. We did an unboxing video of it, Robert.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to. Man,
I even said, "Eat your heart out, RMB."
I have ship envy. I mean, if I knew it was that big, I would have jumped on it when I had the chance.
Yeah, she's freaking amazing. And I mean, all of these come off. All my guns come off.
Are those are they magnetized?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's so cool.
It took me 2 days to figure out how to get the guns on. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, look what Elizabeth says. Well, if you stopped getting the bug ships, you could have gotten it. Just saying.
Just saying.
She's right though.
Salt in the wound.
Like one of those bug ships would have paid for one of those. That thing is so cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, she's my pride and joy. I mean, if anything I could have collected was this girl. I
gotta jump on that.
She's just incredible. I love my Rossi.
Ricky B is not wrong here with that super chat.
Thank you.
$20 super chat. Purple Valkyrie and Samantha Joe make RMB mouthwater and eyes balls.
It's not just my eyes bulging looking at that spaceship. Let me tell you.
I say, how is it for you, Rob?
It looks really good to me. I want to hold it in my hands is what I want.
Want to touch it?
Yes, I want to touch your ship. I want to touch your... Actually, would you show me your Rocinante?
Would you show me your Rossi?
Yeah, show me your Rossi. Yeah, I mean, man. No, that is a really... I didn't realize... when I was looking at I looked at that crowdfunding campaign and I didn't realize how... I didn't realize it was that big. I mean, it's so big. It's so good.
They did a magnificent job on the whole package. I mean, they promised, but they over-delivered.
Yeah, well, they did
the whole thing.
Man, I hope they do. Maybe they'll do a different, another run of those because that's now that people have seen them. But if not,
I'd love to have the Razorback and maybe one of the UN ships.
Yeah.
Hell, and even any of the Martian ships, any of them. I'd take all of it.
Totally. Listen, I have to go because I have to start my stream in 5 minutes.
Oh,
4 minutes. But what a
Robert.
lovely time you have shown me this morning. So thank you for that.
We are honored.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
And thanks everybody for supporting this channel. That was very, very cool. And keep doing it. Just because I'm leaving doesn't mean you can't keep watching.
That's true.
We're going to wrap it up now anyway. But
well, ladies,
grateful. Thank you.
As would say, and be seeing you.
Be seeing you.
Be seeing you.
Bye, Robert. Thank you so much. Guys, we still have the best chat on YouTube. You guys are absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for all the super chats, the super stickers. Elizabeth, thank you for joining us today. Yes. Oh my gosh. You guys have made my weekend.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. And I will go back and make sure, just in case we missed any super chats, we will be back tomorrow morning. So if we did, we apologise, but we will do a first tomorrow. But I think
we will do a square up.
You did. I think we got everybody.
I'm pretty sure we did, but I'll go back through and make sure we didn't miss anyone. And thank you to the new members. Thank you for joining.
Welcome.
We do have a member stream coming up on the 15th of the month. Yeah. We'll be doing that in the evening so more people can come and join us.
Yes.
We'll get the time to be determined, but yeah, we'll get all that information out with you guys in the next couple of days. And like Purple said, we will be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central for our regular show. So we'll be talking news. And probably still nerding out over having RMB on today.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. It was so good to have him join us, and thank you guys for joining us as well. We are incredibly grateful.
Thank you for taking time out of your Easter Sunday and joining us. We really appreciate it. So with that, I guess we can say goodbye.
We can,
and we will see everybody tomorrow.
Have a great Sunday and happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.